All right. Good evening again. It is 6:34. It is November 14th, and at this time, I call our meeting to order for City Council. Still learning this new system, but we will start with Pledge of Allegiance, which will be given by, and then Pledge of Allegiance and then invocation given by 3rd Ward Council Member Angelita Gunn. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So tonight I ask for wisdom and guidance as we deliberate the items before us, and that our decisions be righteous and that they benefit those that we serve.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll proceed with the roll call for us, please.
Mayor Mahoney,
Present.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Present.
Councilmember Dancy,
Present.
Councilmember Gunn,
Present.
Councilmember Schlechte, Councilmember Forgrave.
Here.
All right, all are present and accounted for. This time, looking for a motion and support for the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and adding DF, special assessment policy, DG, rooming house fees, and 11B subcategory voting locations. Like B sub 1.
That item is going to probably be, it's going to be removed from the agenda.
The precinct one is going to be
Yeah.
removed?
Yeah, so I would actually be looking for an amendment to the agenda to remove that item. Sorry, I'm a little discombobulated with our new system.
I make a motion to remove, is that 11D?
B.
11B.
Thank you.
Okay, so then my motion would be just to add 10F and 10G. So 10F, special assessment policy, 10G, rooming house fees, and I won't add the voting locations, then, since you're not talking about precincts.
Did we talk about adding this to new business in the past?
Yeah, we did.
But these
Okay.
are old topics, hence going under other.
Okay, repeat that one more time for me.
10F, special assessment policy, 10G, rooming house fees.
G was rooming.
Rooming house fees.
Oh, did I not know my alphabet?
So
I did not know my alphabet. I'm correcting it, 10E and 10F.
I'm like, I think something's missing here.
Sorry about that. This is why you have children, so you can relearn your alphabet.
Do we have a second on that?
Do you need a second, or is that what you're waiting on?
Mine didn't pop up. Are we voting? Oh.
Okay, so there's no second. With the, okay,
Does it, doesn't it include the removal of E?
it does.
Okay. So
Yep.
just to reiterate, we're removing 11B, we're adding 10E, special assessment policy, and 10F, rooming house fees. Removing
Okay.
11B. Okay.
Yep. Any discussion on the motion? My only question would be, is there any additional materials for us to be able to view on the additional items that are requested to be added?
Not that I know of.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. I did.
Okay, I'm just saying.
Is it not showing mine?
It's not showing several.
Okay.
I did a save. Yeah. I did too.
So if it worked, it's gone, like, because it's not up there.
I did do that. It's not showing up again for me. I don't know what to do. How do I get them back?
Bear with us, folks. We had an update on the system that we're using. As you can see, it's a different screen, much larger. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit easier for people to tell who voted for what. And if you can't tell, I'm trying to buy us some time by just talking right now. So I hope everybody had a good last couple of weeks. Boom, there we go. How do y'all like that? Can we see it? Okay, it passed unanimously, and we now have an agenda that has been adopted. That brings us down to item number 5, presentations and proclamations, which we have 0. Brings us down to number 6, public hearings. Looking for a motion and support to suspend our regular meeting and open up our Board of Review.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Okay, so we are now open as the Board of Review and looking for do I need a motion to open up the public hearing? Yeah, Board of Review, I didn't know if I needed another motion. Okay, so right now we are in the Board of Review and we are open for public hearing on confirmation for SA roll number 4306.
Regarding meterless parking.
Correct. So I don't have any slips up here. Do you have any public communications on this particular public hearing?
Robert Abel, 135 West Pearl Street. My name is Robert Abel. I am the owner of 135 West Pearl Street. I am filing my protest of what I am and have been charged for assessment roll number 4306, which is for the operation and maintenance of the free parking system downtown. I have owned this property since 2006 and have paid 17 years of this assessment for a total of $4,206. This building has not had a tenant or a building operating at this location at any time since 2006. It has been my understanding that you are allowed one parking space in the back of the building for personal use, but have never received any discount for that use. I have filed paperwork notifying the city of that fact on the questionnaire for the special assessment roll form sent to me every year. I feel that this practice of charging property owners for this assessment fee every year on any business operating at said property to support the free parking system is justified. That being said, when there is not a business operating now or has been a business operating on my property since 2006, charging me for something that I am not using is just flat out unfair. I thank you for your time. Robert Abel.
Any comments from council? Okay, seeing or hearing none, looking for a motion and support to reconvene, adjourn our Board of Review meeting and reconvene in City Council.
Hold on. What about my stuff I turned
Where's your slip for this public hearing? Okay, you should have grabbed the other slip. Well, come on up. Let me just find your slip right quick, but you are welcome to come on up, Pat.
Well, it's been a couple of years since I've come up here to bitch or complain about the meterless parking, I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Calhoun. I own the Under Nightclub downtown. I'm just kind of amazed at how high the price has gotten over the years. I remember when it was sub $1,000 before, and actually from last year to this year, it's gone up $1,200 just in the last year. My newest assessment is $3,600, and last time it was $2,400. And that's even with what they got me designated as a part-time or occasional use even. I'm only open Friday night at 10 o'clock till 2 a.m., 4 hours on Friday and 4 hours on Saturday. I don't know. That's a lot of money for being open 4 hours on Friday and 4 hours on Saturday. So I'm just up here to express my grievance about that. So I don't know if you guys can do anything about it, but that's a lot of money, $3,600. Thank you.
Is there any explanation for why cost has gone up that we might be able to provide?
If you need any more clarification after I'm done talking, John can talk, but
Okay.
Last year, before this issue came up, the city and the DDA held some informational meetings to decide if meterless parking was really the way our people wanted to go. We had 3 informational meetings, and we talked about the state of the meterless parking system and the need to continuously repair and make improvements to our parking lots. And throughout that presentation, it was clear that the amount of revenue raised via our meterless parking system doesn't keep up with performing that maintenance. We're not taking in enough money to redo the parking lots, either resurface them, restripe them, reconstruct them. And so this year, working with the assessor's office, the city engineer put together a plan for the maintenance required in the parking lots. And what you see is just a simple math equation. It costs X to maintain and repair, and we need to spread the cost over this many spots and in the formula that's given. And so that's why the prices went up. We finally have at a rate right now that will take care of the improvements we need to do right now. And then going forward, we'll always have to maintain, and costs will likely go up. So that's the brief explanation of it.
And this assessment's on every property owner in the city, in that area, including nonprofits, correct? Correct.
So, yeah, so I can speak to that. So, yeah, that's correct. And everyone within the district that isn't specifically exempted from special assessments by law, which would be government agencies and quasi-government, like public schools, would also be exempt. Otherwise, if you're in the district, you are paying that special assessment.
And then is the special assessment covering that portion that's the government's or the JPS's responsibility?
No, absolutely not. So
Okay.
it's spread, we consider those as spaces, and then that's just a loss to the city that obviously the city picks up that portion of the expense, just like if it was a street special assessment.
Okay, thank you for that explanation.
Any additional comments from council? Okay,
I make a motion to close the hearing?
Support.
okay. Is that a motion to close the hearing and reconvene our council meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
Thought we
Any,
could leave.
good try, good try. Any questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing or hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Actually, I think it's on the screen already. Okay. And we do need a motion and support to approve resolution confirming special assessment roll number 4306 for meterless parking for fiscal year 23-24.
Second.
It's been moved and supported, and the clerk will tally any discussion on the motion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
I went into something, PDF. I went into the PDF to kind of look that one up. So, I don't know how to get that.
John.
Go back. Over here.
It's, the distance between, it's not the DDA. Depends on how far you are from a city-owned parking. Yeah. We have not, we could check.
So, should I be getting?
I'm gonna reset the vote so much.
Should I reset it? Okay, there we go.
Yeah,
The vote's being reset, so need a recap.
I just need to refresh it, maybe. Sorry. So when I was in
Let me see if I can.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you will proceed with the roll call vote for us, please.
Mayor Mahoney,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Schlechte,
Yes.
Councilmember Fortgrave.
Yes.
Okay. Passes unanimous, and that brings us down to citizens' comment. I will start, as we generally do, with reading the rules for speaking before council. Number one, each speaker will state their name and address prior to addressing council. Number two, each speaker is limited to up to 3 minutes during the citizen comment portion of the meeting. Council members will not debate or answer questions at this time. Number three, each speaker should be polite and courteous to the council and members of the public in attendance. While any speaker is free to express his or her opinion on any subject, no speaker may direct personal attacks at any member of the staff or council unrelated to the manner in which they perform their duties, use obscene language while addressing the city council, or engage in disruptive or disorderly behavior during a council meeting. Number four, should any speaker cause a breach of the peace through their conduct, the mayor may declare the speaker out of order. Number five, if a speaker is declared out of order by the mayor and refuses to cease and desist from disruptive or disorderly conduct, the mayor may order the person removed from the meeting. Number six, each speaker may speak once under public comment and may not yield their time to others. John C. King. Say that one more time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. John King.
1 second.
The time is gonna be up on the screen,
Perfect.
and it's gonna be green until the last 30 seconds it turns red.
Time will be on the screen. It'll be green until the last 30 seconds. It'll turn red during that last 30
Okay,
seconds.
so we'll be able to see it in each screen then?
Should
Okay.
be able to.
Okay. John King, 203 3rd Street here in the city. I didn't say Mr. Mayor last time because I was in a hurry to do a lot of stuff, and I noticed the city clerk started the clock when I was, as I was saying Mr. Mayor and starting my address. Addresses shouldn't count towards someone's 3 minutes. There was from the previous meeting regarding Laura Schlechte, there was the opinion of the city attorney where he said, well, the House of Representatives can vote for themselves, you know, like for the speaker position, therefore Laura Schlechte could vote, which is just not the case. For the House Reps, the Constitution says the House of Reps shall choose their speaker and other officers. So it's the Constitution of the United States that determines how the House does it. So by that wording, it's okay. City of Jackson is under, you know, if you look into the Michigan compiled laws, you know, there was the old pecuniary interest, so Laura Schlechte can't vote for herself to give her a paying position, so the city attorney needs a mulligan on that. A lot of stuff now has showed up where it's like after the election, so congratulations on the winner. With the email that I sent you, I would say a big no on the emergency ordinance to put up Daniel Mahoneyville or pellet shelters. Keisha Hamilton did a tweet. She retweeted Corey Bush, essentially showing support for Rashida Tlaib's comment that between the river and the sea, Palestine shall be free. What that means is it shall be free of Jews in Israel. So they essentially want to, that's the Hamas and too many Palestinians plan is to wipe out the Jews. So, as I said, vote no on Keisha Hamilton for the chair of the Racist Equity Commission. She mentioned she was the founder of, like one of the founders of Residents in Action. I would say no to the Residents in Action con and giving them money. Maybe with, you know, her being a board chair, can she actually enter, you know, have a contract like that where if she is a founder, theoretically getting money, maybe that, you know, the city attorney can redeem himself on that. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
William Hastings.
William Hastings, 1231 Highland Boulevard in the city. So this is the, so this is the, is this on?
Yeah.
Okay,
Good, your clock's not working, clerk.
okay. Okay, so this is the special city election roundup edition of my citizen comment. I'm going to start with my home ward, Ward 6. Thank you to Steve Antoini for running. Congratulations to Will Forgrave for retaining his seat while keeping his spending under the $1,000 reporting threshold. Is that correct? Okay, well, you were till the 27th at least. Who knows? Maybe they, I don't know. Well, you kept it down. In any case, moving right along, Ward 4, thank you to Diane Toman for running. Her opponent, who is so graciously, who's graced us with his presence tonight, it's nice to see you here at last, Connor Wood. Connor raised 30% more money than the other 5 people running for city council combined. Wow, that's a lot of money. On top of that, think of this. Connor raised more than the 2 mayoral candidates combined, who had a total of 4 races to run. So obviously Mr. Mahoney and Mr. Wilson had to run a citywide primary in August and a citywide race in November. So candidate Connor, who deceived the voters of the 4th Ward by hiding his high-level day job as a political operative at the Michigan AFL-CIO, hiding his far-left personal politics, and hiding his self-serving actions on the Elections Committee, was funded almost 100% by outside money. In fact, there's only a single donor to Connor Wood who actually lives in the city of Jackson. It's a good trivia, Buster. Remember this one for the next party. And his name was Connor Wood. Ward 2, thank you to Peter Bournemouth for running a competitive race. I mentioned Before that, only several candidates were self-funded and running under the $1,000 threshold. Peter was one of them. I thought Freddie Dancy was, but at the very last minute, Freddie, I guess, got scared and had a very expensive last-minute mailer paid for him by a super PAC called Working Michigan that is 100% funded by a single entity, the Michigan AFL-CIO. Enjoy your 20 pieces of silver, Freddie. On to the mayoral. Thank you to John Wilson for running and for being an advocate for the working class, retirees, and fixed income people of the city who are getting eaten alive by water rates and five-figure street assessments. Mayor Mahoney, congratulations on your victory. Being a two-term mayor is a special achievement in this city. I sincerely wish you success in your second term, and I'm certain that your family is very proud of you. And I wish you a restful and refreshing Thanksgiving Day holiday together with them. Thanks.
Anson Law.
Hi, Anson Law, 714 5th Street. Again, welcome to all of the new city council members and the ones that were incumbents and stayed. I'm going to ask from this administration the same thing I would ask of any, and that is to improve transparency and accountability, because there's a lot of things that cause criticisms and skepticisms and questions, and it's hard to get answers sometimes. I mean, I applied for the 5th Ward seat for the appointment, and when I asked the person who else applied, I'm told I can FOIA that. That's, why are we reflexively secretive? I don't like that. I think that kind of information should be public, not only as a candidate for that ward, but as a constituent. I want to know who my options are, and I shouldn't have to be stonewalled and pay money to find those things out. And the people of the city should know who those options are. It's hard enough to get people to pay attention to what's happening here, let alone add extra steps and hoops in front of them. And so when things come up like the winners of the election being announced and the vote total being announced before, like several hours before any actual results are publicly available, it raises questions. Whether it's legitimate or not, it doesn't build trust, is my point. And so preventing people from seeing who candidates are, preventing vote totals from being out before they're announced, those things don't build trust. Neither does if there are members of this council using personal emails so that they cannot be FOIA'd. That does not build trust. And so I want to be able to look to you guys as leaders and not just people in charge, and there's a difference. And so what I would like to see is when we have questions, embrace that. Don't shy away from skepticism. And to the mayor's credit, I do appreciate the fact that you were willing to acknowledge when you should have released a correction statement and you didn't. I do appreciate that you're at least able to acknowledge, like, hey, single hauler is not a good idea, but you do want to do something. You're in a position that you want to help people, but I do think that there are clear lines of principle that shouldn't be crossed, and that we should look at ways of helping people that don't cause harm and that have minimal government intervention. We should have maximum liberty for the people of the city. And then I get it. And when I come up here and people make criticisms, please understand, our issue isn't with people, it's with the ideas. Bad ideas and poor decisions are the biggest problem. I don't care what political party you come from, who sits in that seat. I just want to make sure that the best things for the people of the city are happening and that the proper ideas are put forward and the proper decisions are made. And so if we can work together on things, I'd like to do that. But it feels like the more we dig into stuff, the more we find. And so if you can step in front of that and give answers to that, like the AFL-CIO buying up seats of power in the city, kind of concerning. So if you can step up and start showing us that things are above board, give us less reasons to doubt and more reasons to trust, we can try to communicate with you real input. Because when I get city agendas and stuff, like, most people are working. We don't have the time to try and fly through 26, 50 pages of stuff a few hours before we're here. So I want less barriers to participation in our city. Thank you.
Jeannie Brown.
Hi, I'm Jeannie Brown. I'm from Summit Township. Congratulations on everybody. Democrats are now crying that Trump is going to weaponize the government. Meanwhile, the left have already weaponized the government and private sector. and have been waging war on Trump and his supporters for years. The media is a propaganda arm of the DNC, and they have made that abundantly clear over the last 7 years or so, pushing the false Russiagate story despite zero evidence, COVID and Ukraine. All of them lies, 24/7, all weaponized to hurt Trump. Social media is propaganda arm of the DNC. Twitter and other social media outlets were having weekly meetings and taking direct orders from the FBI and DHS. They interfered in every single election. They censored factual evidence about the Biden laptop, COVID, Ukraine, etc. They went full Orwell and violated the First Amendment freedoms protected by the Constitution, targeting conservatives. Academia is a propaganda arm of the DNC. Government, schools, and public universities are teaching children woke transgender insanity and embedding left-wing talking points into their minds, teaching them from a young age to develop a hatred for white men and conservatives. The left are literally brainwashing our children to be Democratic votes while we are at work. The executive branch is a propaganda arm of the DNC. The FBI, CIA have been weaponizing to destroy anyone who threatens the deep state control of the U.S. They staged January 6th to convince the public that all Trump supporters were domestic terrorists. The Biden regime weaponized the DOJ, raided Trump's house, indicted him, arrested him multiple times, and trying to put him in jail by any means necessary. So all the left-wing types worrying about Trump, you have to realize your side are the real evil ones. Thank you.
Peter Bormu.
Peter Bournemouth, 142 West Pearl Street. I'd like to congratulate Mayor Dan Mahoney on your victory. I voted for you again. I was hoping to be on council to be able to see that your worst tendencies were mitigated and your best ones were supported, but I didn't make it. I want to say to anyone who was watching that election that it was obvious that Mayor Mahoney, despite any of his flaws, was the candidate that was bringing us, the city of Jackson, into the future, and that John Wilson, regardless of any of his virtues, was a candidate who wished to take us into the past. And I think the voters made the right choice on last Tuesday, November 7th. I want to mention briefly that there is under 10C, other business, winter sheltering at the T.A. Wilson Task Force. And when I was looking at this, I noticed that people are paying themselves $125 an hour again, Will. I'm hopeful that there will be people who would like to see some sanity in the administration of this program. Thank you.
Jan Tornga.
Good evening. I'm Jan Tornga, 1517 East Ganson, Jackson. I wish to thank John Wilson for running for mayor. A thank you also goes to Diane Toman for running for 4th Ward. A thank you to Steve Van Sweeney, who ran for 6th Ward. Also, a thanks to Peter Bournemouth, who ran for 2nd. Jackson is the loser. These four intelligent, honest individuals who care about Jackson would have served the people of Jackson, not themselves. Jackson will soon find out through the higher water and sewer rates and the single hauler garbage service which Mayor Mahoney intends to come to fruition. The unfortunate price to which Jackson residents will pay. Thank you.
Amador Ybarra.
Good evening. My name is Amador Ibarra. I live at 230 Summit Street in Summit Township. As a volunteer election poll challenger in Jackson, I want to once again recognize Clerk Murray, Election Director Clementon, city staff, and all polling location election officials for an excellent job with this election. While observing at the polling locations, I personally witnessed all election officials' dedication to ensure every voter gets a ballot that gets counted. The commitment all polling location election officials showed, especially when faced with the challenge of one of the polling locations being temporarily closed for this election, was exemplary. They took the extra time and effort to ensure that everyone got the access to the ballot and access to vote and got to the right location. As a volunteer observer of the Jackson County Board of Canvassers for this past election, I also witnessed the process used to certify the election. The County Board of Canvassers certifies the accuracy of the election by comparing the electronic polling book and the tabulator ballot count for both in-person voting and absentee ballot voting. When the County Board of Canvassers is able to certify an election's accuracy, this ensures an election can be relied upon to be true and accurate. The Board of Canvassers found no discrepancies which would prevent them from certifying the Jackson City election. I'm confident, based on my firsthand observation of both the election polling location and canvassing of the election results, that the 2023 election in the City of Jackson was a free and fair election without any concerns for the accuracy of results as submitted by the City of Jackson. While observing this election process, I witnessed the City of Jackson Election Division providing people access to the ballot consistent with the rules and regulations that guarantee a free and fair election. Thank you all.
Jennifer Bittinger.
Good evening, Jennifer Bittinger. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I am addressing you all, but to start off, I'd like to specifically address Councilman Forgrave. I was very disappointed to hear your remarks at the last City Council meeting, appearing to intimidate or to badmouth those that may oppose you. In response, I wasn't even there, but I did watch, and in response, I can only speak for myself to the fact that I am not ashamed to be supportive of the Jackson County Republican Party. We are fighting for our country and for our freedoms. I would be embarrassed to say I supported the Democratic Party, a party platform that is pro-immorality and soft on crime, approves the murder of babies up to birth, promotes religious and racial unrest and persecution, wants to remove parental authority and indoctrinate all into a socialistic and globalistic worldview. What is it about the Democratic Party that you approve of? Is it the deceitfulness, including the denial of corrupt election practices? Or is it the poor economic policies and corrupt spending, or the destroying of our strong faith-based country? I can't figure out what it is people could support. No, I would be ashamed to be a Democrat. And my main objection is their rejection of God and His truths. God wants us to be truthful, and yet you, Mr. Forgrave, laughed off your deceitful actions. And I have to also state that Connor Wood acted similarly when he was visited by one of his opponent's door-knocking supporters. You claimed you were confused by the fact that those who participate with JCRC are continually speaking out at this council. Could it be that those who oppose the Democratic platform are frustrated by representation in our city government? Will anyone stand up against the corrupt, anti-God liberal agenda? Will anyone with differing values be able to participate in the committees and decisions for our city? Will anyone speak for the large majority that still fear God and want our land to continue in His principles, the ones used by our forefathers to establish our blessed country? Okay, so in speaking of representation, I want to take this last few seconds to request the council's consideration of a hardworking, respected young man who is applying for the open council seat. I have personally watched his integrity in tasks such as cleaning up sections of Jackson and serving his community. I appreciate his youth yet maturity. I believe Anson Law will be a good representative with good ideas and character, and I ask you to appoint Anson to be a great asset to the city of Jackson. Thank you very much.
Connor Wood.
Hey everybody, Connor Wood, 319 North Bowen Street. Just want to thank everybody who ran and on the ballot for anything this year, primary or general. Thank you to everybody who voted. Thank you in particular to the overwhelming majority of the people of the 4th Ward for the opportunity to serve as a council member for the next 5 years. Excited to work with all of you on the other side of the dais, and I will give back the remaining 2 minutes and 44 seconds.
Michael Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I am here to talk about the proposal that's before you later on tonight. I am the CEO at Segway. We're a mental health agency. We're located at 212 East Biddle, formerly the McCulloch School. And I want to speak about the proposal that will be before you later on. As a director of a mental health agency, we deal with many, many issues. Our consumers come to us with lots of challenges, lots of needs. We deal with medication issues, we deal with resource issues, we deal with people that become dangerous to themselves, that depression, schizophrenia, anxiety, and so on, many, many different types of problems. The one problem that we deal with that's the most significant of all of those problems is housing and homelessness. People want to recover, and it is very difficult to recover when you are homeless, when you don't have a house, when you don't have a safe place to live, and you're not able to find a place that's safe and affordable and allows you to address the other needs that you have. I have been a part of the process of developing this proposal. I find it to be comprehensive. I find it to be to look to coordinate with other entities within the city to assist with helping folks who are most at need and very, very desperate. I think that when a person is homeless, one of the most challenging things that I think that they have in addressing that homelessness is finding someone that they can count on, that they can trust, and that they can rely on. I think that we have seen that with the work that happened last winter with Rhea and with Tasha. People have developed trust for what she can do to help them. She has developed a group of people that are very interested and share her passion for helping this population. She helps to build relationships. She helps to build that trust. Without that trust, people aren't going to come back. They're going to remain homeless and challenged by the difficulties that they experience. How do we know that people trust Rhea and trust Tasha? It's because after the program ended last winter, the sheltering program that occurred last winter, people have still reached out to her throughout the summer to get assistance, and you don't do that if you don't trust somebody. So in conclusion, I support the project and the program and look forward to the conversation about it. Thank you.
Ms. Ragland, I don't know what your first name is. Rosina, okay.
This is my first time, so I don't know.
Take your time.
So my name is Rosina Ragland, and I live at 358 Mormon Drive in Jackson, Michigan. So this is my first time being here, so I don't know what y'all can do, but everybody has a voice. My problem is the living situations, the homeless people, the housing. If I got pictures on my phone that it will make you cry how housing is so bad, and people need help out here. people can't say anything about, well, we should move here, we gotta leave out. No, nobody's living in our shoes. People need help. Instead of firing people or letting them go, they should have never let nobody go. They need to go and find out what's going on with the housing, the Shahans, the Reed Manor, and Chalet Terrace. Why is it at the bottom of the shelf? Nobody's helping. Everybody's talking, but nobody's trying to help. You know what I mean? And it's very sad that everybody's sitting back and like, okay, we'll do this and we'll do that. It's been 7 years since I've been in this place, and nobody's done nothing. Now HUD got involved, and HUD, they want to cross their T's and dot their I's. They should have been done that a long time ago. I used to live out there when I was 14 years old. I'm about to be 51. It's horrible out there. But everybody's saying, oh, you got to leave, or you got to do this, you got to do that. Some people stay there because they don't got nowhere else to go. What is people going to do? What is this place going to do with Jackson? Jackson is sad. Jackson need to get back up on their feet and help people. I understand about parking lots and this and that, but the main thing is people, human beings, homeless people like he said. What's actually going on? If people is money hungry. Money hungry, and it's a doggone shame that everybody in Jackson want to build highways, do this and do that, but not help the homeless people or help people stay inside their homes and not get evicted out. What is everybody going to do? What's going on with Jackson? Where is the money going? People need help. People really need help, and this is a shame what people are doing in Jackson.
Davita Quinn.
Good evening. My name is Davita Quinn. I live at 4415 Leeds Court. Congratulations, Mr. Mahoney, that you retained your seat. I'm very happy about that. Well, glad you retained your seat. Connor's coming on board. Miss Laura, you're leaving. Continue your work that you do out in the community. Talking about the community. We got two things on the agenda. Talking about the community. Housing. T.A. Wilson for the homeless project. I went out there the other day and I had a look at the pallet homes. Different than what I thought they would look like. I got a look inside of them. And I know what the inside of T.A. Wilson looks like. And RIA, we submitted RFP, and I would like to see that approved tonight. We have shown in the last year the work, the hard work, the long hours that we put in to help the homeless people. And once again, winter is fastly approaching. And we have to get the people off the streets. Will we be able to help all of the homeless people in the county of Jackson? The answer is no. There will be some overflow. There will be some other people that will be calling that will not have a spot. I don't know exactly what's going to happen with those people, because there's so many people living under the bridges in Tent City, behind Party City, in foyers, in cars, women, children still homeless. Ever since the beginning of the year, sleeping on grandmama's floor, living with their auntie. And I know that we have some projects that's coming that's going to help with the homeless. I know on Thursday over at Parkside, there's going to be a meeting. So if anybody is looking for homes, information about homes, city website, go over to Parkside at 5:30. Start trying to build yourself up to maybe be a homeowner, not just a renter. If you need some help, there's plenty of help available through the city, through RIA, Varsity Girls. We're all working together to try to help Family Lifestyle Solution, Quinn Consulting Group. We're all trying to work to make it better. So please, tonight when you all vote, just think about the people who we're going to help here in the next 3 months. Thank you.
Christy Davis.
Christy Davis, 612 4th Street. I've talked to most of you, but congratulations on your
winning your seats back, and Laura, will miss you. But I'm glad. I know you still got lots of stuff going on in the community, so it'll be nice to have you still. I have been talking with several people in my neighborhood. On the corner of 4th and Franklin, Right Way Boxing, Mr. Davis is concerned about the safety of his kids as they're doing their exercises in their laps outside. I believe he's spoken with Undersheriff Chris Simpson, but he did ask that I try to mention something at a city council meeting. They meet Monday through Friday, 4 to 7, and then every other weekend from 5 to 7 on Saturday and Sunday. Not sure what we can do. He'd really like to get a 4-way stop out there. I did talk to Laura and Will about that. They both seem to think that might be really hard to be able to pull off changing, because it is such a big intersection. Didn't know if maybe we could get some officers out there from that time period. They've had several close calls. There have been some really bad accidents there in the last few years, but there have been some close calls with some of the kids. Some of the older kids and adults, they're out there towards, I think it's like 6 to 7 is the older people, or 5:30 to 7. But some of the younger kids, some of them are kind of tiny and little, and they're doing such great work there. I would really hate to see something happen, so I did tell them that I would bring it up. But that's all. Thank you very much.
Zoe Lyons.
Good evening, Zoe Lyons. I live in Summit Township. As the lead of an organization that has worked to promote resources and support our families and communities, I'm here to thank and support the city for the work done to create an option for people experiencing homelessness through the T.A. Wilson Project, and in support of Residents in Action and the work that they have done and will continue to do to work with these people and their families. We look forward to continued partnership with RIA in my organization to assist with resources this upcoming winter and in the future. And I think I would say that after hearing Mike, I would support all of his statements as well in terms of the work that they have done in the past and the trust that they have built in our community. Thank you.
Nancy Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council persons, and attendees, citizens, and residents. I'm Nancy Smith. I work for Senator Sue Schenck in Lansing. Her Senate district is District 14. It includes a big chunk of Washtenaw and most of Jackson County, and absolutely the entire city of Jackson. So I'm just here to bring my greetings and to say that we are open to anyone who needs to call us about any sorts of problems. If you have a problem with a government agency or any other type of problem, give a call. See me after the meeting if you want. I forgot my business cards, but I can write down a phone number. And we have folks who can help out. So please reach out. Also, if you have any sort of organization that you would like the senator to know about or to even come and visit, reach out about that. She has been trying to be in district more often. She's been in Jackson, I think she was in Jackson today and this past Friday visiting different organizations, so please reach out about that. And thanks to the city and for all the nonprofits who are undertaking in advance to be sure that we help the unhoused people in the city and the county. Thanks.
Delia Johnson.
Delia Johnson, 1106 South Grinnell. And I just want to underline what everyone has said so far about supporting RIA to help with the homeless situation. Our group is a black-white group. We listen to each other. We come up with some good good things to do, I think, for the people that are homeless, although it's a very challenging situation. I don't mean to belittle that at all. But I hope that you will vote for Tasha and Rhea to be in charge of the housing situation. Thank you.
Todd Moore.
Good evening, all. My name is Todd Moore, 6017 7th Street, and I'm here to introduce myself as a hopeful candidate as I applied for the vacancy of the 5th Ward. I've been a resident of Jackson for the last 24 years, a proud full-time firefighter here for 24 years as well. And again, I'm taking this opportunity to introduce myself and interested to hear about your appointment process in hopes that I have another opportunity to meet and sit down with you folks and talk in regards to it. So I appreciate it, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Tasha Carter.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations to everyone. Okay, so I typed a bunch of stuff. Okay, Tasha Carter, 915 Orchard Place. And I forgot my glasses, so let's see if I can. I'm the founder and CEO of Residents in Action. I'll likely have the opportunity to share more details about our RFP for the homeless project this upcoming winter season, but I wanted to use citizens' comment to touch on a few things. City Council's selection of RIA to manage the emergency homeless sheltering last winter was monumental. To my knowledge, it was the first time in history that the city has, and I lost my place. Sorry, you guys. To my knowledge, that the city has selected a partner that was boots on the ground and black-led to partner on a project as big as that. I thank the city for the opportunity. I'm also very proud of what RIA accomplished. The final homeless report was very comprehensive, and some of the data from that report has been used for discussion and solution seeking for local organizations and agencies. I was especially happy about the homeless event turnout and the collaboration that RIA successfully coordinated for that event and really throughout the whole project. A special note, too, was the final budget, which was a lean budget from an administrative perspective. 88% of the budget was specifically used for hotel and supplies. I know everyone was not particularly happy about RIA receiving the funding last year. Bottom line, though, RIA helped hundreds of people. My phone hasn't stopped ringing along with other RIA members, and we've continued to refer and help people as we could. Some of the people who show up to speak against me specifically in RIA have never even spoken to me. Like, I've never had any conversation with them. So I do encourage anyone who has questions about me or RIA to come talk to us, find out what we're doing, how we're helping people, how we're partnering with and collaborating with different organizations. And we don't just work on homelessness, we work on life and emerging issues in the community. And you can be a part of it. You can be part of the solution versus just coming to complain. So I'm sure you'll probably have questions on the RFP that we submitted, but thank you again for your support and everyone who has showed up today to speak on our behalf. Thanks.
Right, at this time, that'll conclude our citizens' comment portion of the meeting. Brings us down to item number 8, petitions and communication from city staff and other governmental entities to be accepted and placed on file. Looking for a motion and support on item A, the CDBG, home, and CV financial summaries for September 2023.
So moved.
Mr. Mayor?
Support. Yes, sir.
If it's appropriate, I'd like to make a motion to approve 8A, B, and C.
I'll second that.
Hear no dispute against that. Is there any comments or questions on the motion that's on the floor? Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display in bold green print the vote. Okay. Passes unanimous, brings us down to our consent calendar, looking for a motion and support on the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar. I have a question on B, C, and D before I decide whether I'd want them removed, and I'd like to see F removed for separate consideration.
So do you just want to remove them? Because
Well, sure, I'll remove them. I'll
Okay.
remove A, B, and C.
So B, C, D.
and D for separate consideration.
B, C, D.
And F.
And
F. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, motion passes unanimous. That brings us back up to item 9B, looking for a motion support for the engineer's report for pavement replacement on High Street, Executive Drive to South Street.
Can I make?
Just want a motion and support on the issue first.
Right, I was gonna change the motion to B, C, and D to approve, because the
Same
question
question on
applies
all
to
of them?
all of them. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll support your motion.
okay. Okay, to discuss?
Yep.
I'm just curious, have we done it this way? I don't remember this being in the consent calendar before.
You have approved these in the past as a single line item, just receiving a report and setting a public hearing. I felt it would be wise to chuck it on the consent calendar.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yep.
I didn't know if I was crazy or,
You're crazy,
Well,
but that we
right.
have done it differently before.
okay, all right. I wanted to verify that. Thank you.
Any other questions on the motion? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote for consideration on item B, C, and D. Okay, item passes unanimous. And that brings us down to item F, looking for a motion and support for a reappointment to the Racial Equity Commission.
I'll make a motion to reappoint Keisha Hamilton to the Racial Equity Commission for a term beginning January 1, 2024 through December 31, 2026. I'm eliminating the word chair. And the reason being is that is not
That's
in,
decided by the committee.
that's decided by the
Uh,
committee and not.
Understood.
Okay.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I believe in the notes it said, unless it was corrected, 2 years, and it's actually 3 years.
Can we get clarification on what that should be, if it should be a 2-year or 3-year?
Well, I have
The
the
dates-
ordinance right here. If it's a reappointment, they're for 3-year terms, according to this.
Okay, but in the body of it, it does say 2, but when you count the years, it's 3.
Well, my motion was to reappoint her, and then I said the date time. I didn't say a number, if that makes any difference.
But it's not, it wasn't you, it was the accuracy of the note that's with that.
Oh, okay.
It says
So are
2
you
years.
looking at the note from city manager or, because the note that I see from city manager is January 1, 2024 and ending December 31, 2026. For the,
I don't know. I saw something when I was
okay,
reading it at home.
look at the other
It
note.
re-
that's
referenced
attached.
2 years, but it's actually 3. That's all I'm correcting.
John, do you have any insight on that?
Well,
So
it's
it
right
should be
here.
Yeah, I'm
There's the
not-
ordinance if you wanna.
Okay. It's okay. It's fine.
After the initial, that's appointed for 3 years. Commission is formed. All members thereafter will be appointed for 3-year terms.
Okay,
this was
so.
after the initial,
So we'll just
right?
count that as a scribbler's error and
Right,
make sure that
that's
the
all it
motion
is.
reflects that it's in accordance to the ordinance itself, which should be a 3-year term. So then that technically would be to
that is-
27.
No,
No.
24,
Oh,
25, 26.
24, 25, I can't count, I'm sorry.
I have to use my fingers, so.
Okay. So all is well then? All right. The clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay. So I think that takes care, it passes unanimously, and I think that takes care of everything on the consent calendar. At this time, we will move down to other business. Item A.
So can we look at these notes and stuff in the middle?
It didn't let me either, in the middle, once that vote
Well,
comes
she
up.
lost me for a second when I did
Okay.
that, so that's why I was asking.
So, item A is, ordinance number 516. Doesn't give no, is that, are we looking for any action on that, or what's the?
I'll move to, I think it's to approve the
Approve
second
the-
reading and
I
final
see it
adoption.
now. I see, approve
So
the
I'll make that
second reading
motion.
and final adoption. So that, you said that was a motion to approve?
Yeah. I'll make-
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
No.
Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Madam Clerk, yeah, come on, ask me. You can put me down as this. Okay, clerk will take a roll call vote on this item.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Schleckting.
Yes. What one are we doing? A?
The order.
No.
Councilmember Forgrave,
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes. Okay, passes 5-1. And that brings us down to item B, looking for a motion in support for the city attorney review of ad hoc appointment, or excuse me, city attorney review of ad hoc appointed officials review committee policy recommendations. So.
So
Mr.
moved.
No, don't need him, sorry, don't need
Okay,
him.
okay, okay.
Mr. Attorney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last council meeting, council instructed me to provide some recommendations and a review of the ad hoc committee's previous memo to council. As part of that, I set forth, in largely for Mr. Mayor's benefit and council members' Gunn's benefit, who were not on council the last go-around, I described how the process last took place for the appointed official review when the city contracted with Amy Cell Talent in Ypsilanti. They're an HR firm that does performance evaluations for government officials and employees. So you have that overview and how that process took place, including the cost. It was $4,200 when that was last done and finished in 2021. So you have that overview as sort of a, I guess, a benchmark as to how it occurred previously. You're obviously welcome to open it up to other firms or any other ways in which you want to conduct it, but that was how the committee originally recommended, how council moved forward several years ago. So at the end of the memorandum, you basically have 8 bullet points in terms of my recommendations and how the process should likely move forward. The first bullet point is to reappoint members of, at the time, were the Rules and Personnel Committee. So you can have a 3-member panel of council members appointed to that committee that can then start the process of vetting potential firms to get some RFPs and some proposals in place. And then as I walk through the other steps, the natural progression is to decide who you want to go with, what steps you want to take to have that evaluation done, how you want to have it conducted, and then as part of the ad hoc committee's recommendation, you also discussed how you do it in the off years, so-called off years. I think the direction of the committee was to do a review every 3 years, a more substantive review, and then have some type of form that could be filled out or survey that could be accomplished in those off years. So happy to entertain any other questions about the memo or the process going forward, but I think the first order of business for council would be to reconstitute that 3-member committee and then move forward from there.
I'll make a motion that we reestablish the Rules and Personnel Committee.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes 6-0.
I'll make another motion that the committee consist of, if they agree, Councilmember Forgrave, Councilmember Gunn, and the new 5th Ward councilperson who's appointed. Mystery person.
How do we consent?
Huh?
Someone that's not appointed yet.
Yeah, I don't think we can.
If they don't want to do it, then maybe they'll get appointed. I can't imagine that somebody wouldn't want to participate in that process.
Okay, with no support, the motion dies. I would recommend that this committee follow the same process as all of our other committees, and that it convene starting January 1 or December 1, whatever the pleasure of the board is. After everyone newly elected is officially in their seats, we can then open up that opportunity for individuals to apply, and it can follow the regular process for like all of our other committees.
Do council people apply for committees that are council people only committees?
I think they did when I was first
It's
Elected.
usually discussed here at the table. I mean, somebody could tell you that they're interested, but I don't know of any application that I would put in to be on that committee. I might just say, hey, I'm interested in being on that committee. When it's only council people. When it's a regular committee where you have 5 members and 2 are this and 2 are that and 1 is this, there would be an application process, but.
Mr. Mayor? So I don't have this information in front of me, and maybe it's in your memo, so I apologize, but if we just voted to reconstitute the Rules and Personnel Committee, I'm assuming there's some documentation somewhere as to how that committee is formed. Right? It's existed before, like.
It may have been gutted from our
It's not in the charter.
charter, yeah.
I've been on it twice, when I was first elected, and then the last time.
My recollection is the last time it was constituted, it was a vote of council at a meeting.
And typically, if it's all right, for me to talk about, typically, it's, to your point, it's somewhat informal when council members are appointed to these. They may say they're interested in it, or more often than not, a city official or the mayor will come to you and say, we need somebody for this. So, yeah.
So did you want to offer a motion for how we should handle this, or? I think my point in the comment that I made is I just think that we should wait until the newly elected individuals, everyone is re-sworn in, for a fresh start, for us to make a decision on who wants to take what appointment. That was really my overall.
I'll make a motion that this be added to the first meeting in December's agenda for appointment of the members of this committee.
I'll support that.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
So we have 2 meetings in December. One is a ceremonial meeting. It's still a meeting, so I don't want to like not have it on the agenda and then get people mad.
That one is where it should be, because the committee needs to meet as quickly in January as possible, because they have to get an RFP out for, so it would be ideal to know now who's going to be on it, so they could deal with it in November, kind of, start the thought process. But they have to meet quickly, so I would, and you're going to you're going to figure out who the vice mayor is at that meeting, too.
I'm just
so.
making sure. That meeting is usually pictures, punch, and cookies, and I wanted to know if you expected to be on
5
that.
minutes longer.
So time frame between the 2 meetings is what, 2 weeks?
One.
One?
Yeah.
I think it should be at a regular meeting. Like, I think that would be fine. I don't see much of a difference between us waiting until a regular meeting.
I just want to make sure I put on the right agenda. That's all I'm calling for.
Is there any objection, or, well, see, you getting ready to say something?
So I guess, I don't know if we need a motion for anything at all. We can just move on at this point. If we've reconvened the committee, it exists, and it will be up to you and up to us when we appoint people to it. Moving forward, I don't know if we need to set a date now and set it in stone.
What motion's on the floor now?
Right, and that motion is for the first meeting in December. Okay.
Sometimes we don't have a second meeting in December.
Any other comments?
So there's is there a second meeting in December?
There's
So
2
I-
meetings.
Yeah, I know that first meeting is just, people get sworn in, and we celebrate, have cookies and milk and move on. Then I just think the second meeting is when we do start business again, in a sense. So,
think it's nice to give people some time to breathe after getting sworn in.
Yeah. Until they get hit in the face.
You're used to it, though.
Is there any objection with
The
it
only
being
one
on
who's
the?
not used to it is Connor.
Is there any objection with it being on the first business meeting of December?
No objection from me.
Is that a friendly amendment?
I would offer it as a friendly amendment.
It's fine.
I'll
Okay.
support that.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes unanimous. Brings us down to,
And Mr. Mayor,
yes, sir.
there was one item that I don't know if it was mentioned from the memo, but I'd like to make a motion, if you guys are looking at the memo right now, pursuant to Attorney Haggerty's second bullet point, I'd like to make a motion to designate the city's HR director as the staff liaison for this committee.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, and the motion passes unanimous. Okay, that brings us down to item C. Let me just get to the item. Winter sheltering / T.A. Wilson Task Force. And I will turn this portion of the meeting over to the city manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really proud to bring this agenda item to you for your consideration tonight. It has been months in the making since this council established the Homeless and T.A. Wilson Task Force. Been meeting regularly. The annex project has been completed. It was completed on time and on budget. And now it's time to decide who's going to operate this for us going forward until March 31st. You have a proposal from Residents in Action with a counterpart, Second Chance for All. It is, I would say that this proposal is very, very comprehensive, as everything we've seen RIA do for us already. They've thought of a lot of things, and this is not without additional partners who are unnamed in the project who are going to be helping to make this happen. You've heard from a couple of them tonight in Segway and MDHHS, but other partners involved in making all this happen and coordinating different services would be Jackson Harm Reduction, Home and New Vision, Engagement Center, Andy's Place, Let's Make a Difference, My Neighbor's Keeper, Lifeways Crisis Center, Jackson Interfaith Shelter, Jackson Community Foundation. I know that the respondent is here in the room, but I would wholeheartedly recommend you approve this contract as presented.
So, I don't know if you guys want to start with discussion or if you want to start with a motion.
They have to put a motion on the floor, don't they?
I'll make a motion that we approve the contract as is.
Support.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. We will open the floor for discussion. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
So you know I have some, so I'll start. I'm going to start with the question, why did we do an RFP for the city to pay for something? Because it was my understanding from council that we were gonna try and find someone to take over the space and run it. We've already got $1 million into this winter sheltering, when we could have spent 20,000. And I appreciate Tasha's detailed RFP, because one of my questions was, what was the follow-up? And she answered that without me even asking, so I appreciated that. So it isn't about Tasha's ability to do it. It's about the fact that it was my understanding that we were going to try and find someone to take the space, not that we were going to fund it. And in fact, in the meetings, I said it often, I heard the mayor say it often, that the city didn't have any funds to take this forward. And here we are with a request. She's a 501c3, which means she can go for grant money for employees, staff. It sounds, there's an email that says that there are over 500 partners from throughout the Jackson County that are committed to working together. You're telling me that of 500 nonprofits more than, that they, that there can't be someone that just takes the space and runs this without the city funding it? If we had in the $1 million, I don't know, I'd have to look at my notes to see who came up and talked about all the people who had the housing needs. Do you know how far that $1 million could have gone to keep people in their homes, helping with property taxes, helping with home improvements? I mean, let's get real, because we could have done this for $20,000.
Sorry, I'll wait till you get done.
I have a lot of other things, but that's
Well,
my first question is, how did we get to an RFP?
So I don't think we could have gotten it done for $20,000. I think that the proposal that you're speaking about, it was made clear to me that that proposal would not have gone forth without additional support financially for staff for that particular project that you're talking about. And I think that's a bad comparison of now and the project that we're looking at in front of us. I think also this is not for the entire T.A. Wilson campus. This is strictly for the wintering shelter, emergency sheltering over this particular winter time. What's happened, in my opinion, is we sat on the issue over the last year, kind of dormant, like waiting for the actual purchase to happen, spent some time, and then other issues came up, election came up, all other kinds of things came up, and now we're right back where we were last year, except we actually have a plan in place that's been worked on for months. So I think part of what, and you were there at most of those meetings that we had with this entire group of people. One of the things we didn't want to do this time was like have closed-door meetings with a few people from the community, but not everyone who's involved in the community of helping homeless. So we called all of those individuals into the same room instead of like meeting with them officially or unofficially on the sideline to have a group discussion about what should we do to move forward. So the discussion was had. Part of the question that was asked is, what should we do right now for this upcoming winter, because there was not really a solid answer from this group on what to do with the campus as a whole. So the wintering shelter is pretty much what we discussed, what the group agreed that we should do something right now. And I think that and this is just my opinion, I'll let the city manager kind of jump in also on that particular question. But in my opinion, I think that if spending $1 million saves even one person from freezing to death, where we had, I think, 5 people last year die, then I think that is money well spent, and I would spend that 10 times over to save one person, because people are more important at the end of the day. And I think that's what we're doing. We're doing what we can, and that's been the discussion this entire time, is we have to do what we can. We can't do everything, but I do think this is something that we are capable of doing. But I'll let the city manager jump in also, who, in my opinion, did a phenomenal job calling all the interested parties, all the people who are the professionals in the field, in the world of helping people who are homeless, and calling all these individuals to the table who have all supported the work that's been done for us to get to this point.
You made a lot of great points. I don't know how much I can add other than to say, like, this isn't a surprise. I mean, I don't remember how you voted on it, but in August, there was a item to build out TA Wilson for this exact use. The ecosystem of homelessness and service providers in the area, like anything in this world, can use improvement. And I actually think that this project, taking shape the way it has and bringing partners along in a methodical method, in a methodical way, in an open way, in a way that talked about what is possible and what's not possible, is a very appropriate use of these funds. I don't think that necessarily the city could be a part of this in a big way going forward, but we can now, and we should now. And in my mind, it's, like I said, it's a very, very good proposal and a very good project that I think starts to get at what you're talking about with community support, Councilmember Schlechte, but it's not there now. We had to create a lot of this from scratch. For all of the coordinating organizations we have here in the city and the community, for all of the great people we have working in those individuals' agencies, we didn't always have the same sense of trying to work together to solve a problem. So this is the beginning of it. And I go back to what I said before. This is a really solid proposal that does start to incorporate this. And it may get to a point where the community is funding much of this work, but it's not now. And since it's not now, I said once, twice, here we go 3 times, this is a worthwhile fund for the city.
Well, I would like to correct one thing that Mayor Mahoney said. I think you started the process. I don't think we sat idly on our hands, not collectively, I would say. I think Jonathan jumped out of the box, got a committee together. However, that committee should have been formed long before we purchased pallets, long before we purchased T.A. Wilson, long before we spent $1 million. There's no mention in here where the funds are coming from to pay for this, because from what I understand, you were using ARP money and you only had $800,000 to spend. And we all have to remember that these are taxpayer dollars that we're spending. And if we could have kept 100 people in a home using the $1 million for, I mean, it's hindsight at this point on that, but we have to make wise decisions. I think Tasha's quite capable of doing it. She's proven that. There's no question about that. It's the fact that it was my understanding that we were looking for someone to take over the facility, not at the city's expense. We were gonna build it out, and you spent, what, $400,000 on the build out? So.
You as we spent
We
$400,000.
plurally, we'll say. I mean,
Okay, that's cool.
$400,000 was spent on
Yeah.
the build out.
It totally.
So 150
was.
for the pallets, 150 for
Yep.
T.A. Wilson, 200,000 for for the motels and stuff that Tasha did last year. So that takes us to 500,000, and now 400,000 roughly for the build out of the annex. So you're 100,000 over the ARP money that you had available for this project.
Actually, no. I'd like to correct something you just said. And this is my fault for not including it in this meeting, because I had you guys do it at the meeting where you awarded the bid to Mercer for the build-out. I asked for an additional allocation of $225,000 from ARP money to make the total project 1.1225. And I don't have all of the numbers in hand, but this money would come from that allocation. I put it in the memo then. I undershot how much this RFP could cost, but we're still on track to be under budget. I don't have all the costs yet of those other things, especially the build out. But we're still under the allocated amount by council if you approve this contract as presented. And I apologize for not bringing it again. I brought it at another meeting, and so my fault for thinking you might be inundated with too many things or remember that. That's my fault.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Forgraves.
I think, I don't want to speak for everybody, but to Councilwoman Selecty's point, I think we're on the same page still that eventually we would like to pass off this property onto somebody else. It's currently the middle of November. It's getting colder every day, and we find ourselves in a position where that option is not available to us right now. So I think I would absolutely agree with you, Councilwoman Schlechte. If we had to choose between this and passing this off to a nonprofit, I would choose passing this off to a nonprofit. That is not on the table.
I have some questions on the budget itself.
Okay, let me give some other council people opportunity. If there are any other comments, just want to give everybody opportunity.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I just had one comment. I'm wondering if Tasha could explain to us how she came to the rate for the project manager position that's in the budget. If you don't mind.
Okay, you're speaking of the 125?
Yes.
Okay, so RIA has, I don't know, we've done upward of 20 projects since 2020. And for every project manager is 125. And that has been based on executive director, nonprofits, the industry standard rates. Specifically for this project, and actually it ended up this way with the last year's project. So we have our project manager, we have our performance risk management person, and then we have a data person. If you look at it, this proposal has 200 hours. I will be doing all three of those roles. So all of the data, all of the serving as the liaison with the city, the staff orientation. Basically, you tell me, I worked in the medical field, and a consultant at $125 an hour is unheard of. I mean, it starts at 300 plus. So for the level of responsibility and all of the roles that I will take on with this project, and because it's consistent with if you look at the budget of every project that we've had, the project manager is 125.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to offer opportunity. Hold on, Tasha. I just want to make sure if there's any other questions that anyone has directly for Tasha to address or answer. Mr. Dancy looked like he was reaching. No?
Not for Tasha.
Okay. Any other questions directly for Tasha?
I do. I've talked to 3 nonprofits today and read the description of project manager to them. And they all said that nonprofits would pay for consultants at the 125 rate, but never someone as project manager, that the more common rate would be $50. They all came to that without me prodding them, because I'm not a nonprofit. So I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about $1,000 for general office supplies. I mean, I read something about supplies, but that sounded like a different type of supplies. General office supplies, I'll donate general office supplies to you. It would be a lot less than $1,000. In here, it talks about the homeless resource fair. I'm calling it that because I think that's what you called it last year. And you did an amazing job on that resource fair. However, you've got $3,750 allocated to it. And TJ has $10,000 being donated, $5,000 of which is coming from the Jackson Community Foundation. So I can only assume that $5,000 of that is being donated from the city, and I don't,
Why would you assume that?
because of the way this proposal was written, it says 10,000 donation.
Well, if
But-
you
and it
see
says-
it that way, do you think like the hotel room costs for overflow or general cleaning supplies and all the other things to be
I
donated by
have
the city?
questions on that
Yeah.
stuff too.
So they're outside donations, they're actually getting to the point of what you said earlier about having the community
So
be a
there's
part of
not,
this.
it said Jackson Community Foundation's donating 5,000. So you're saying you're gonna get the other 5,000. You think that it's gonna cost you $13,750 to do their resource fair? And you're gonna get it all donated except for 3,750?
So the resource fair was 10,000, right?
I don't know where the extra 3750 is
Yeah,
coming
It's
from.
it's on the RIA's portion, April 1st through the 10th, 2 weeks, 10 days at 5 hours.
Oh.
Times
So that-
3 full-time equivalents equals 150 hours, 3,700, and it says homeless event coordination, final shelter activity, resource event, contributions, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, so that's the meeting time, the shopping time, the coordinating and collaborating with partners for that project.
Yeah, it's more, so I would say it speaks more to the final reporting and data.
Right, yep, and it includes the report, yep.
Okay, that's just not how it reads, so took it to look at, and at $10,000, even if it's just 10,000, that seems extensive for a resource fair. I mean,
That's why we're getting donations.
and then, I didn't understand the $125 rate. Are you proposing that St. Vincent de Paul is gonna pay for rooms as if they were gonna give them hotel rooms? And you just don't know how many that's gonna be? That's on TJ's, so I don't know if you wrote this or
It's-
TJ wrote
it's-
this.
Well, it's not really TJ's.
I can help explain. So when
yeah.
we got this was, so what you're seeing is like, all the activities are what we want to do, and we have an estimated cost, and we didn't feel like it was right to put that all on the city. We wanted you to know, though, that these are some of the other activities we're going for, and if approved, the two nonprofit entities in the city will be working together to obtain more of these donations. Can say many of these donations have already come in, for things like basic supports and warming supplies, basic needs, household items. So, like, that's why it was there. We anticipate, if the city had to pay full freight, like that, we want to show you, there's a dollar amount that this team is going after and getting to make happen.
Oh, that's fine. I'm just,
And that dollar amount isn't included on the motion that we're talking about here, because we're trying to get it donated.
Yes, and
Yeah.
because I do not expect or would recommend the city pay for that. Just exactly the bottom line on the right-hand side on page, whatever it is, 6, 4.
so the 189, 233.13 is an estimate, or that's what it's gonna cost?
That's it?
Huh?
That's it?
That's what it's gonna cost?
I can't tell you that's what's gonna cost, no more than I can tell you what a street project is, but this is what's
So-
in the bid.
But residents in action, if you wrote them a check today for $189,233.13, they could do this program, and if it costs less, they keep the difference. If it costs more, they eat it. Fair enough?
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly how it is on every, like, engineering contract we have, or any other consulting contract, so, yeah, sounds about right.
$50 an hour from the project manager, that's plenty.
Well, the other question I had, or comments from the other nonprofits were the administration and the RII backbone support 15%. It sounds a lot like what you're already doing as project manager, but also the comment that the nonprofit said is their typical is 10%. All three said 10%. And they also said it would be done by a finance department or a different company. Is that what your plan is?
Not, so last year, before we were a nonprofit, we paid a fiduciary rate. This year, we are an established nonprofit, so we we'll secure our accountant and finance would do all of that.
Right, so that, so you answered the question, so yes, finance department will do that, which could be a CPA.
Yep.
Okay. But they typically said 10%, all three said 10%. That's what they charge. So I don't know where the 15% came from. And I didn't call 4, I called 3, and they all said 10%.
I mean, this is consistent with what we've done for all of our projects.
I'm sorry, let's. Go ahead, Tosh.
This is consistent with, if you look at any budget that we've done, we're not doing anything differently for the city. This is the structure that we've done for every project that we've done.
Well, probably the difference, and this isn't to you, probably the difference here is that unfortunately Tasha has to come in front of the council to deal with this, where John Dowling, when he's dealing with the contractors who put in bids, or however you deal with those, because we don't deal with that, they're gonna go back and negotiate, or there's standards of expectations. So you're talking about all your contracts, not just something with the city, but you've only done the one with the city, right?
Correct, yeah.
And we wouldn't necessarily, as council, without asking the questions of other people, know that a typical would be 10%, or that $125 is excessive. Maybe she needs to up her hours. If it's gonna cost her $25,000, it's one thing, but if it's only gonna take her 200 hours at 125, it's another, because I'm told that that's excessive.
So, I've got a question for the city manager. Is this, this proposal that we're looking at, is this something that we've already negotiated some of the costs on? Or can you speak to, like, how we arrived at, this coming to where it's at right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would call it a refined proposal, where I did have the conversations that we're having now with Tasha and Rhea directly. And I asked them for ways, number one, how they could bring in other partners to help defray some of the costs, and to their credit, they stepped up and did it. And then I asked them to think critically about the amount of hours that are required to be there, and what they felt for the safety of the people who would be there, and to make sure that they do a good job. And then they went back and sharpened their pencils again. The initial proposal was much richer than this. And I thought that was going to be a little too much for a council to swallow. And I would give a lot of credit to Residents in Action and the partners they brought on. They've stepped up to the plate, and they thought creatively, a little dry up here, to make it happen. So, yeah, there were some refinements, Mr. Mayor. This was a little bit richer of a project before, and had the city paying full freight on everything. And I knew intuitively, based on all the work we've done since May or June, that wasn't going to fly. So we went back to the drawing board and came up with, I think, was a really solid plan that actually, like I said before, and I apologize for not having all the numbers in front of everybody, but it comes in under budget and is palatable to what you guys authorized me as city manager to make happen. So,
And who's gonna pay the utilities? That wasn't,
as property owner, I contemplated the city paying the utilities. We don't have a good sense of what they are yet. We've never got it, but it's something I'll have to kind of keep an eye on.
is the annex separated off the other building?
If it isn't, the other building has next to nothing for utilities. It's been mothballed for all intents and purposes.
Right, but once it gets activated,
Well,
just take that into consideration.
Knock on wood, once it gets activated, we won't own it anymore.
Oh, that's true. Well, I would personally would like to see the hourly rate refined and the percentage refined to 10%. $50 an hour and 10%.
Is there any other council person who has any other questions, comments, concerns?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to say I was one of the council members up here when we initially worked with you that was admittedly skeptical. You have proven yourself above and beyond, and anybody who says you hasn't read the literal receipts you turned in from the last time, like literal receipts down to the cent. And admittedly, I was skeptical. It took you a while to turn those in, but you know, looking through that with a fine-tooth comb, I was incredibly impressed with not only the fact of how organized you guys were, how many people you helped, but also, you know, to say you worked 200 hours over 200 days is a lie. And it's a lie so that more money goes to helping homeless people, period. End of story. And, I mean, we could make your rate $50, but if you were honest about how much you worked, that's where all this money is going. So I'm in full support of this. And not only that, but like I said, this is the only thing we're looking at. It's either this or nothing. So what are we even talking about?
Come on, Freddie.
You know, just like the the city manager was talking about, there was negotiation for this contract. It was higher. They came together. They worked it out. Partners stepped up and willing to do things. So, you know, and I think they proved themselves at the last project that they worked with the city. They're the only one who can do that. And I think with boots on ground, what they do is unique. It's special. I met someone at Michigan Municipal League, and I asked them about RIA, and they just went on and talked about RIA, and they work for the state. So it's they have a lot of support, not only locally, but statewide too. So I support this, and I support what they're going to be doing, and I believe they're going to do a great job.
Vice Mayor Angelita?
No, I just want to comment that, you know, I work for a nonprofit. I've been in the nonprofit sector for almost 40 years. And so these rates are on the higher end, but nonprofits shouldn't be working for poverty wages either. So I feel like if we feel confident in the work and want to hire RIA at these rates, that, you know, if we wanted to change the rate and up the hours, I mean, that's fine, but I think, you know, we should compensate people for what they're worth.
Yeah, one other thing, I want to make it clear that I'm not against RIA, because I know you did I saw you personally work at the resource fair, hustling around, and your report answered any questions that I had about how things were implemented last year and things like that. So this isn't, because I've had someone contact me and say, why don't you like Tasha? And I go, I don't have anything against Tasha. So this is nothing against you. I don't agree that the city has funneled this much money into something that could have cost us less, which takes you, this has to do with a lot of the other stuff. With that said, I just did the math based on your full-time equivalents down there at the 34.5 hours and came up with, if you charged $50 an hour and you utilized the hours that you have down for your other workers down here, it would have been closer to $75,000 versus the $25,000. What people see in the general public is the 125, right? So if you're putting in, you should be credited for the amount of work that you do. So if you are working, I think it was 500 and some odd hours, or I don't know what it was to get to the 75,000. If you're going to work that many hours, you should let people know that's how many hours. Don't underestimate the amount of work that you actually do. So with that said, I'm a no, not because of Tosh and not because of the proposal at all, but because the city should not have gone down this particular path from the get-go. And I have been a no on every other vote. And I'm just not going to change that now. But I wanted you to know that didn't really have anything to do with you, and we should talk about how you represent your hours. So, and the other 500 nonprofits should be stepping it up a little bit. Oh, and the last thing is, one of the nonprofits did say you were going to work far more hours than that the 125 was excessive. However, you underestimated how many hours that you were going to actually put in, so that we would probably be spending less than what you're worth.
So I'll clarify. I didn't underestimate it. I know how many hours I probably would end up working, but I wanted to make it palatable for city council.
Okay, seeing that all minds are moderately clear at this time, I would ask the clerk to tally and display the vote. Thank you for filling those questions also.
Let me do it. You said it. Not coming up.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you will proceed with a roll call vote for us, please.
Councilmember Dancy?
Yes, yes.
Councilmember Gunn?
Yes.
Councilmember Schlechte?
No.
Councilmember Forgrave?
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1. And that brings us down to item D, Fifth Ward appointment process. Continuing the conversation, and the city manager is trying to escape. Okay, Mr. Attorney.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So to recap, council set a deadline of November the 3rd for Fifth Ward applications. We had double-digit applications. When we sort out eligibility, we're likely going to have double-digit applicants. Council will also recall, by charter, you have to appoint someone for that vacancy by November the 29th. You have a council meeting, one more regular meeting, which is November 28th, after the Thanksgiving holiday. Assume for the sake of argument, you've got 10 candidates. My recommendation would be that every applicant who is eligible to be interviewed does get interviewed, to give them a fair shake and let the public see anyone who's eligible that may want to throw their hat in the ring and the answers they have to council's questions. That said, just doing the back of the envelope math, if you've got 10 candidates and you take approximately half an hour, that's a 5-hour meeting right there. So that probably gets council into setting a special meeting date. Looking at the calendar, if you did it on Monday the 27th, you'd have the opportunity to hear from all the candidates, potentially make a decision that night. If you didn't, you'd have the meeting the subsequent night, the regular meeting of the 28th, to make any final decision, so the person could be appointed and duly sworn in by the November 29th deadline by Madam Clerk. So that's the time parameters you're dealing with. The date you select is certainly up to you, but I'm just throwing out this food for thought, both how long it may take to conduct the meeting, if you want to do it during the day, maybe draw by lot and have the applicants come in at a designated time, but that's what your charge is, I think, at this point.
I think we should start the process. I think we should start the process this week, maybe even Thursday. Because what do we have, 11? 12? We have 11, if they all qualify.
That's,
Next week is Thanksgiving.
That's pretty short notice for, I'm seeing a couple head nods, probably schedule-wise and,
Well, the next
and
week's
notice to the
Thanksgiving.
candidates.
I don't want to wait until the 27th. I think that gives you 2 days. Disappointed we didn't pick a date before, but we guess we didn't know we were going to have 13 applicants. I do, can we get the names of the applicants and their submissions, not any of the qualification stuff, added to the agenda for public record?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So I would look for a motion to follow the recommendation of the city attorney for us to plan for a special meeting or call for a special meeting on the 27th, given proper opportunity to notice those who are eligible to be interviewed and getting those scheduled. That way it gives everybody good notice, and we can eat turkey in peace.
Is that a motion? Or were you asking for that motion?
I'll move that as a motion, yes.
I'll support it.
Any
So
discussion
time to
or
be determined.
clarification on the motion? Looking at 5 hours, Councilmember Gunn, so I would, Lord. 5 PM? No?
No, Mr. Mayor, I think it should be earlier.
Okay.
I'm thinking more like at least starting at noon, if not sooner. Because we talking about 30 minutes plus the more questions, maybe more questions than answers, so they may go past 30 minutes. Then we won't have time to decide, to discuss if we don't make a decision that day. But 5, that's 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night, man. What you talking about?
I can.
We start at 2.
Unfortunately, I don't have no butter to sling, and the earliest I'm gonna be able to shake loose personally on a weekday like that would probably be. I mean, I could probably squeeze 1 o'clock and just get a request submitted early.
What about Saturday?
Huh?
I know, but we waited this long to set a date, and I think we're doing the community and ourselves a disservice by waiting the day before, waiting till the 27th. I mean, they have to be seated on the 29th. We don't have to make a decision on the 28th. We could make a decision on the 29th, I guess, but one day and 11 people, assuming they all qualify to be talked to? That's just unfair to everybody. I'd hate to be that last person being interviewed.
Do we have to do them all in one day? Can we do
Can we break it
2
up?
3-hour sessions instead?
How's it been done in the past? They all been done in one day in the past?
I've never had this many. So,
Understand.
I believe one day.
The last Fifth Ward one took a couple rounds because council couldn't agree on the first round of people. And then they had another round. And remember, there's only 6 of us, so if 3 of us vote for one person and 3 vote for another, what are you gonna do? You got a stalemate. And you waited till the day before we have to have someone seated? That's, at a minimum, or at the latest, we should have a meeting on the 20th, maybe, Monday the 20th.
I could do the 20th in the afternoon. And the 22nd. You're taking my vacation.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was gonna be out of town too. I mean,
Yeah.
I just can't believe we waited this long.
Yeah.
I mean, we voted on that, though.
Well,
Right?
no, that was for the applications to
I mean,
be
but
in.
you're saying that like we
Yeah, but
didn't all have an
we should
agreement.
have foresight, we should have set a date for the interviews. Even though the applications were due on the 3rd, we could have still set a date back then that we start the interview process on the, 5th or whatever that Monday, the 6th.
Sure.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
If
I'm just
it's
saying, we have put
24th.
ourselves in a box.
If I'm in order, Mr. Mayor, you kind of seem to be onto something by starting a little earlier on the 27th. And
I think so, too.
what I would recommend is that we order them, give them times based on alphabetical last names. And so it's just, you're so-and-so, you will show up at 2:30, and after that, there'll be a 3 o'clock and a 3:30, and so there's just a random, mostly random, but like there's a defined nature to it, so no one can say we're picking favorites. Alphabetical is as good as it gets. And just give people their times, because so if they're the last person there, they know their time, they know when to show up.
Sucks to be a,
We could do reverse alpha. you
well,
know.
just draw their names from a hat, because, I mean, and what if they have a job? Like,
Yeah, like
So-
us, like,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
the rest of us. I think, there's a motion and support on the floor right now, if I'm not mistaken. Is there any further discussion on the motion that's on the floor currently?
Could you remind us what the motion is? It's the
So-
current motion on the floor.
27th, and my recommendation would be 1 o'clock start.
I'll support that. It's already
Yeah, it's been
supported.
supported.
Okay, I'll support it again.
It's been supported twice now.
Yeah,
Appreciate
okay.
it. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, so, we talking about discussion on that motion. I guess my concern is that, the time period for that, no, never mind. I just be quiet.
and council, you're gone on the 20th? Is that right?
On the 20th?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, would we have a quorum if we had it on the 20th instead of the 27th? And then the 27th, we could use if we needed to have more conversation, or we narrowed it down and we had people come back?
Is that a question for me?
It's a
or-
question for anybody, I guess. I mean, I'm a no if we wait until the 27th. 11 people, an even number, we could have a stalemate, and we have put ourselves in a bad situation. And I don't want to be here until
It would
midnight.
just make for a longer meeting.
Yeah, I'm not bringing my
Yeah.
pet up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have the luxury of spontaneously
I don't either.
having longer meetings.
I think it's important to remember too, just as a quick note, that whoever it is that we do appoint, if that person did want to run for election, they would be turning around and running in 4 months because of the charter changes we made. It's not as if we're appointing somebody to a 3.5-year term. Something to think about. So I would support this motion.
So is there any other questions on the motion itself? Okay. Seeing or hearing none, the clerk will tally and display the vote.
Oh, I did not. Come on.
Okay, motion passes 5-1. So we will have a special meeting on the 27th. It will start at 1 p.m. and interviews will commence. I would like to make a request of staff to not only post those applicants in the on this agenda for public consumption, but also if the actual applicant list can be emailed out to everybody. That way, if anybody wants to do any previous due diligence with looking at the applications, looking at the qualifications, and even if they wanted to personally reach out to that individual for whatever questions they may have, also gives council some additional time to do their own due diligence on individuals they may have questions for leading up to that date.
So I have a question on the process that day. Are people going to be, lack for a word that I can't come to mind, quarantined in a room where they can't hear the questions of the previous person and without cell phone in their hands, so that if I'm number one, well, if we went A, it would be, oh, I was thinking of your first name. I don't know, whoever would be the first. Let's say he's here. Let's say it's Anna Slay. He's the first one, and he answers the questions, but then all the other people are out in the audience hearing those same questions. I don't think that's fair to Anson. Or that
It's still
person.
a public meeting, and I don't think it would be proper to close off someone who's still a citizen from a public meeting. I would have to defer that question to the city attorney and also ask how it was done previously.
So my recommendation, if you've got individual time slots for the people that theoretically know when to show up, and they should, in the interest of fairness, basically sit in the bullpen, so to speak, maybe on the first floor until their time to call is called, because they're applying for a position. I think it's appropriate that they don't get sort of a preview of coming attractions and hear other person's answers or the questions. They come in fresh. They have an opportunity to be judged on their own merit and not listen in on the remaining candidates. 'Cause it's not necessarily fair to the first person that goes for the last person. So they could just show up at their appointed time and then come into council chambers when they're ready, and otherwise just remain in the lobby and staff member can come grab them when their time's ready to be interviewed.
No.
It's the fairest way to do it.
Yeah. And I believe that's what we did the last appointment. They did not come in until their time.
Yeah, I know with the treasurer, they were separated.
I think everyone was.
No, not the treasurer.
When I applied, I was the treasurer, they did.
Oh. I just think it's, Mr. Mayor, I think it would not be fair if the ones that follow are able to hear answers, could tweak or take an idea, or, I'm not saying people wouldn't be honest, but they get that preview as attorney
The other way
Matt
you could,
said.
the other way you could do it is the first person up gets to have a final.
Is to have 2 interviews?
Well,
No.
maybe they were nervous.
You must
Well,
be married
think
to an
about it.
attorney, you get a rebuttal.
That's exactly right. But you think about it,
I
they're
mean,
gonna be
well,
the
I
most
guess
nervous.
a big question is, are the questions going to be made available to the candidates?
No.
No.
No. Okay.
I think how we proceed is we give every candidate a time. If they show up early, we explain to that candidate that we cannot legally bar you from this room. But if you sit in on this and you hear questions ahead of time, we're probably going to take that into consideration about whether we're going to appoint you or not, which we're allowed to do. And then we can move on.
Fair enough.
Okay.
I guess we can decide who will man the door, so to speak, to relay that message at that time.
And staff can help with keeping people in the conference room. We'll take them there first and then keep coming back down and making sure we bring them down at an appropriate time.
And trust that they're not gonna have someone in this room feeding them the questions.
Well, you can't trust that.
I mean,
will somebody be in there? I mean, can we say no, I go to doctor's appointments, they say no cells allowed or
I don't
whatever.
think we can do anything out of the ordinary of any other public meeting that we do.
I'm kind of thinking along the lines of Councilmember Forgrave, like, let's that's a part of them showing you who they are. and that's a factor.
So we'll have someone in the conference room, so if we know, if someone is showing us who they are by getting the questions from a friend in the audience, then that hall monitor will relay back to the principal's office.
Something like that.
Okay. These are questions that people have thrown up. I don't think of that stuff, but other people have asked me those questions. So,
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right, that takes care of item D. Brings us down to item E, special assessment policy.
I'll just make it quick. This has gotten dropped off. Last I knew, I thought our assessor was asked to bring us some samples, and maybe it didn't get relayed to him in that fashion, I'm not sure. Maybe it's my fault, I don't know. I just don't want this dropped off the agenda until either you decide, council decides to leave the assessment policy alone, or to make the changes necessary going forward at some point.
Okay.
So. And if we need something from Jason, it would probably behoove us to ask him specifically, but I thought you were doing something already.
Thank you, Councilwoman Schlechte. Yes, I did assemble some data. Given the fact that this involves the funding of projects, I did take what I've thrown together and presented that to the engineering's office for their review before I present that to council. So this is just trying to make sure that it is thoroughly vetted before it makes it before council, as I had presented this change previously and it did not pass a vote. So I want to make sure that that everything is clearly vetted.
So in light of that, I have one meeting left, and it would probably be a waste of Jason and John's time to do some kind of presentation until the new council is in place. So I would like to see this put back on the first business meeting in December, and you guys can figure it out from there. But I don't want to see them spend time when a decision probably wouldn't be made at the next meeting anyways. Fair enough? Okay. I just don't want anyone to accuse me that I didn't do my due diligence.
Any other comments on the issue from council? Okay.
No.
Okay, item F, rooming house fees.
I just want to make sure that that's getting addressed, especially in light of the hard work Tasha's going to be doing over the next 3.5 months. I want to make sure if we can make it affordable for people to go into rooming houses.
Yeah, this is a very apropos topic, and you asked to have a rate derived, and we're still working on that, but more and more we are having discussions with people who want to talk about rooming houses and things like that. So we're just like everything else, and to Jason's point, want to make sure we bring something solid to you. And I think we're pretty close.
Next meeting?
Hopefully the next meeting. I'm really hoping so. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
There's a lot.
showed a house to someone and I said, where are you living now? Well, I'm living in a house at High, and I won't give you the cross street because I'm not going to squeal, but I'm pretty sure they're not registered, the owners of the house, because it's a rooming house. So. Maybe, I don't know, but not.
We'll find out. Just like those 3 nonprofits.
I didn't ask her her address anyway, so she just said where. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. That takes care of our other business, brings us down to new business. Item A, looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to request a 10-minute recess, please.
What?
Yeah, man, it's just, I'm old, I can't hold much
Okay,
longer.
looking for a motion for us to take a 10-minute recess.
Even young people
We'll
can't
take
hold
that
it
as a
either.
motion. It's been supported. All in favor, say aye.
I gotta go.
Okay. All opposed, the same. We are in recess.
Tasha.
So, what I did earlier. How are you? When I had to advertise. Good. And I didn't want to get out of the study. We missed you at my right click.
I know, I can't.
Don't look at the PDF.
No, I'm saying if you click it and open it in a new window, I think it won't affect the window that you have with the voting.
Oh, okay. But mine didn't when I clicked on the item itself. But when I clicked on that PDF the first time, that threw me out of the voting.
Try right clicking,
Okay.
and then it should allow you to open it in a new window.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
How you been? Busy, but good. Why do I have to vote for somebody?
We got 5 on the council, right? 5.
Plus the mayor.
But why is it one seat vacant?
It is. Because there's only 6 of us up there. There's only 6 votes.
Why isn't that position filled there?
That's what we were talking about. We got to do interviews. No, we got like.
Nobody ran for
No. It wasn't part of the election. Somebody resigned in the middle. So we have to appoint to the next primary election.
Oh, I see.
So that's what we're talking about, doing the interviews on the 27th. Yeah. So it's a vacancy. Yeah. So it'll be coming. Somebody will be seated for a few months. Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever, I guess. We'll see. Thank you.
I think it's a lot of how we put things.
Oh, you in trouble now? You broke it.
Yeah.
Hey, just start.
It may have been.
Your stuff. Come on.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna say, do you really want to do this? Yeah. It was something weird like that, wasn't it? Well, I'm gonna tell them that John C. King's gonna make sure you're good enough. If they say I don't want to come to a meeting, I gotta face John C. King. You got a rep out there, man. Oh, okay. Thanks, John. We got time. I was being 9. I thought it was going to be 9. He's going to go past. Unless they haul ass through this new business, Freddie. Oh, that's right, goddamn it.
What?
Sorry.
What?
Pardon my French.
What now?
How's it going?
I emailed everything out to everybody as we're sitting here.
Here you go.
6 to the 54. Sixty-one, 54, yeah. 3.5 minutes ago, well, 4 minutes ago. Come on, what's she at? That's 20 minutes up. Come on, let's go.
Oh, that was damn your black.
That's a girl. Let's go.
Need more information on the car thing.
Right, you got, no, I said it.
That's the one I feel like kid she ended up being nonverbal, autistic, and we found out where she lives with her mom. They had her. But she has a door that's now shut all the way. It doesn't latch. So she actually showed the officer she's ordered an alarm for the door and stuff. Like you call it in?
Well, okay, so I was talking to Will, he was asking me about the gym. And I'm like, Will, I'm thinking, I saw him down the street with the diaper on. And I was like, this is so bad. And I was like, I want to call 911, but now I feel like Carly Russell, and I don't even know how this is going to work. So I was like, well, let me call Elmer
Yeah, lady stayed with her. Oh no, thankfully she had. Although the last time, that's scary.
Thank you. I was like, who could you like me? And I was, oh, hold on.
Another meeting on the books regularly. I miss my day. I know you're busy as hell. We gotta find. We gotta feel. I know you gotta eat. So like, there's lunches, there's breakfasts.
You know, luckily, I don't even know how they feel. First game of the tournament. Actually, we had, there was a spurt of like, well, not all of them.
He did, but he didn't miss anything. Steve didn't get there until like 8.
So they were all similar.
He had a voice. He had a voice scout. Me and Mike, it was pleasant enough. Mike was not normal. Mike was, because his normal Mike kind of makes me mad lately. He was good. He didn't say anything that made me cock my head and be like,
several hours.
Without Steve there, it was just a couple of administrators talking.
Because you know that.
I can do anything. All I gotta do in the morning is drop kids off, and that means I'm in the city.
Oh, yeah. No, I didn't know. I actually know the lady that stayed with the kid too. Yeah.
30 minutes plus.
I got to feel you went on Nicole. And then Lisa and I have, we're gonna get another one in January. So you can have broadband, focus on broadband. Lisa's got some ideas and
He's watching something over here.
Yours. We just need that extra body. That's what we're targeting for next week. Dr. Mosley. Nicole.
Basketball?
She's in the mix with this homeless thing. Like, she saw when she came to a couple of meetings, and I was like, wow, I know some people, I know this, let's do that.
He was until
they.
I heard that's when you get traded.
Threes. Working on threes. Let's go. Pull up, dude.
Are you actually watching the game? I'm looking at the score.
Yeah, she was asking me, she's like, what do I do? Like, your oversight. You're
So 11:27.
Hey, Laura.
Don't get in the mix.
Waiting on you. Waiting on you.
Check, check. Okay, we are going to look for a motion to bring us back from recess?
And I
So
made
moved.
some.
So moved.
It's been moved
Support.
and supported. All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, we are back in motion now. Laura, were you trying to make a
I
comment
was just
too?
gonna say, I have some homemade gumbo sausage, chicken and sausage gumbo waiting for me at home, so.
You didn't bring none to
I'm
us.
so hungry right now, getting a headache.
I wish.
Well, you've been asking the most questions here.
I know. But then, there's very,
You holding yourself back from that gumbo.
I have very few questions on anything.
Okay,
after that.
we are down to new business. Looking for a motion and support for approval of the professional services contract with Tetra Tech to perform the WTP scatter remote station PLC upgrades, design, bidding, construction, administration, programming, and startup for $117,000.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote.
Did you get mine?
Okay, the clerk will proceed with a roll call vote.
Councilmember Schlechte,
Yes.
Councilmember Forgrave,
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimous. Remember, we voted to remove item B, so if you're looking at the agenda, that item won't be discussed or voted on because that was requested to be removed from the agenda. We're going to go down to item C, looking for a motion and support to approve a resolution to enter in a contract with the Michigan Department of Transportation for flagpole installation work in the I-94/M106 roundabout and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the appropriate documents.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion?
Yeah, so who would maintain the flag?
Parks.
Okay. Lauren and Raisin and Half Mast.
Well, they're going to be lit, so we
Oh,
won't need to bring them
lit.
down. Yeah.
What the hell is up that flag?
What's that mean? What's the difference if they're gonna be lit? Does that mean you don't have to lower and raise them?
It's disrespectful to leave the American flag up at night and unlit.
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you.
For, the lights will be in the ground?
Yep, pointed up.
Flat. Okay.
I think that's going to be a nice addition to the new landscape coming through the city of Jackson. That's going to be a great addition.
As long as it would keep the weeding.
Did you get it?
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote.
We did just, nope, not, we did the first one.
Up top. No, there. They kicked you out. That's why you're not getting it. They kicked you out, or whatever. Get it yet? I think it takes a second to catch up. It was running smoothly earlier.
I feel like we're in school, and if they're passing notes, they should share with them.
Okay, clerk will proceed with a roll call vote. Don't worry, folks, this is just growing pains.
Councilmember Forgrave,
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Robinson,
Yes.
Councilmember Dancy,
Yes.
Councilmember Gunn,
Yes.
Councilmember Schlechte.
Yes.
Okay, passes unanimous from what it sounds like. Okay, that brings us down to item D, looking for a motion and support for the requested, for the action for the city council to award a demolition contract to Handy Excavating in the total amount of $100,568 to demolish 3 residential structures.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the item?
No.
Did everybody's vote boxes pop up?
I just have one question. Do we have any recourse? These look like these are all privately owned, and we do have recourse to maybe get money back?
Maybe, if we're
Okay.
lucky.
All right. Yeah.
Passes unanimous, brings us down to item E. Looking for approval for an award for the contract for the repainting and miscellaneous repairs of water clarifier project for the water treatment plant to JK of Michigan in the amount of $209,540.78.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any discussion on the item? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes unanimous. Brings us down to item F. Looking for a motion and support for the approval of the professional engineering services contract with Fishbeck for the design phase of the fiscal year 2024 drinking water state revolving fund project at the water treatment plant in the amount of $974,000.
So moved.
Support.
Moved and supported. Any discussion on the item?
No.
Okay, seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Passes unanimous. Brings us down to item G. Looking for a motion and support for the approval of the purchase of 4 Dodge Durangos from the John Jones Auto Group for a total of $176,600 to be paid from the police department's general fund budget to be used as police patrol vehicles.
So moved.
Support.
Sound like them Dodge Durangos are working out over there.
They have
Okay.
to, they're the only thing around.
They're available. Okay, any other questions, comments, concerns? Seeing or hearing none, clerk will tally and display the vote. Item passes 5-1. Brings us down to item H, looking for a motion and support for consideration on adoption of emergency ordinance amending Chapter 9, Emergency Preparedness by adding Article 3, Emergency Temporary Warming Shelters, Section 9-34 through 9-40, to provide authorization for the installation of emergency temporary warming shelters that meet certain location design and safety standards.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and supported. Discussion.
Yes, I just, could the attorney just give us a brief update on this, please?
Sure thing, Councilman Dancy. So this has been I think, long time coming, going back to when the pallet shelters were first procured, and then in conjunction with what you've already approved now, which is RIA's running at the T.A. Wilson School site, which was acquired subsequent to the acquisition of the pallets. We had to find a creative way to get them utilized in the short term. I remember distinctly Mayor Mahoney talking about the plunging temperatures around this time last year. So what's proposed tonight is exactly as you read the motion, an emergency temporary warming shelter to utilize the pallets for transient occupancy by the homeless who need shelter from the freezing cold. It's not going to be utilized as any kind of permanent residence, no storage. Certainly people can get out of the cold and take a nap in them. They're not going to lock. They will be heated, but they're basically a respite from the cold for the street homeless who otherwise may not necessarily want to be in a traditional shelter or take advantage of RIA's offerings or the other homeless resources that are in the community. So because it's an emergency ordinance, as I've laid out in the memorandum, it does require unanimity. 6 council members would have to vote to approve. That's the only way you can adopt an emergency ordinance to take immediate effect. So happy to answer any questions about the nuts and bolts of the ordinance, but there is an emergency declaration declaring that homelessness is a public health emergency, and that's the basis upon which you'd be adopting it. I've had a lot of helping hands with regard to location, logistics, energizing these with consumers. Tim Pickett has been extremely helpful, Chris Adkin in planning and zoning. Shane Laporte, of course, is always super helpful in these situations. Brian Taylor, our chief building official, who's been looking at these from day one and how we best can utilize them to serve the community. So that's it in a nutshell. And the ordinance would have an expiration. Talking with Manager Green, it would expire March 31 of next year. So this is a temporary thing. But because the pallets can be put up quickly and taken down quickly, the object, of course, is to be able to disassemble them if necessary. If issues arise, we can always adapt and be mobile with how we react to things on the ground, particularly when TA Wilson is up and running. So that's the overview.
Why do you need 6 votes?
Because Section 9.6 of the Charter requires 6 council votes for passage of an emergency ordinance in order to take immediate effect. Otherwise, it would have to be first and second reading. If you had a first reading in a regular ordinance, it wouldn't take effect until the second reading. The first December 12th would be the second reading if you didn't have a vote on this tonight, and then it wouldn't go into effect until the middle of January. So midwinter.
And this just applies to the pallet housing.
That's correct. This is only, the emergency ordinance only is for these emergency temporary warming shelters, correct?
Thank you.
Is this going to be, I guess, the administration or how it's going to work will be handled by Tasha's or RIA?
It's all a part of, everything you approved is all baked into this, yep. Making sure everybody comes in, is treated, understands things, and then they get what they need.
So, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have on my notes, I wasn't thinking about the 6, and there's not a 7th here. And because I have been hard and fast no on this whole thing from the get-go, I was a no. So I'm gonna ask a question, I'm open, public about it, so, if I said no, and this is for all of council to answer me, I guess, and this came on the December, so it sounds like it'd come on the December 12th meeting or whatever that date is for first reading, right? Am I understanding you correctly? And then,
Not necessarily. I was giving an example of you didn't approve an emergency ordinance as proposed tonight. So say you didn't adopt this with 6 votes tonight, you could go back to the drawing board and bring back a similar ordinance that's not an emergency ordinance for the meeting on the 28th, have a first reading on the 28th, a second reading on December the 12th, but it wouldn't go into effect under the charter requirements until a minimum of 30 days, which would put you into the second week of January before they could be installed.
and can you have an ordinance read on the last day? So for example, my last meeting will be the 28th. So can you read an ordinance and then have a second, and I won't be here, I won't be on council, I won't be an elected official. Can you do that?
Short answer is yes. Each vote is independent, so you could have, in theory, a completely new council that votes on a second reading that didn't vote in the first. That is of no moment.
So I guess I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna assume, based on the way everybody has voted this whole time for this whole project, that if I voted no today, that you would still pass something that would make the shelters, the pallet houses.
I think a no vote from you, Laura, would delay this until mid-January.
And
is
so,
what's
but
being
I guess
said.
my question is though that, because my no vote would be against the whole thing, not necessarily one part or another part. So I guess I'm just, and I don't want to, I guess I'll make you wait and see how I'm gonna vote. But I'm gonna guess that everybody would, if I said no, this would still happen. It would just happen later. Would you be delaying the inevitable? Fair statement?
I'd say yes.
Thank you for responding.
I'm not in order.
If this emergency ordinance doesn't pass but carries a majority, would it automatically go to a second reading, or would we have to do something?
No,
Okay.
but we could make that
Yeah, sure.
request
Okay.
tonight.
If I'm in order, Mr. Mayor? Councilmember Schlechte, I would implore you to vote yes. I understand, everyone understands your philosophical belief about all of this, and your votes against things weren't that you don't care about what's going on and about what the city's response shouldn't be, but this is how decisions are made, where you get to have your vote, and sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. Delaying this, yeah, it probably is just, it's inevitability at some point, but I think for in the best interest of the city of Jackson, a yes vote is appropriate tonight. And I think if you could find it in your heart to vote yes, it would help out the city a lot.
Well, I just want to say that I voted no on the pallet, the purchase of the pallet houses. So I did, but it's been moving forward, and I would not want to see them sitting there not being used by people who could use them for temporary shelter.
One more thing to hit you maybe in a sweet spot. I think what you've seen in the city's leadership over the last 3 years is a sense that we will challenge the norm, and we will challenge the black and white that's been written forever, and think of creative ways to make things happen and to bring change when it's needed. And there are conversations right now about more housing and more temporary housing in the form of rooming houses, as you know. And that, again, poses a challenge to the city in the way we've always done things. And I think that it would be a sign of goodwill on your half to vote yes on this with the understanding, like, we're trying to do everything we can to make it easier to do stuff in the city. And this would go a long way in showing that you support what we're trying to do and making it easier for anyone, whether it's starting a business to standing up a rooming house or having some temporary shelters for people who just don't gravitate to a shelter and just aren't into that life. They just want to, we're just trying to keep people safe and warm. That's all I got.
It's a little sturdier than a cardboard box or a tarp.
With heat.
I was just following Freddie's example on the marijuana.
Yeah, I don't think marijuana falls in the same category as shelter
Smoking
from the
of it, you
storm.
won't feel the cold.
Any final words? Okay, clerk will tally and display the vote. Okay, passes unanimous.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I think that takes care of our business and brings us down to city council member comments. Let's start with the vice mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I do want to congratulate, I think I did personally, but all new and re-elected council members. I don't know if I said thank you, but congratulate you all. I did not have a lot to say because about everything was already said for the contract with RIA, and all my questions were answered that I did have. So I don't want people to think that I wasn't on top of my thought process, but I was, and everything had been answered. Seems like I had something else too. I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. I think that's it. Watch me think of something afterwards, but I think that was all I had for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Dancy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So first off, I like the belated Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans out there. Just happened the past weekend. Especially to all the family members who are family members of veterans. I said in the past, they serve just as much as the men and women who wear the uniform because they deal with a lot. I mean, a lot that goes on that family members deal with. So I just want to say Happy Veterans Day to all the veterans and their family. Last night I had a meeting at Lady Baptist Church, about 100 homes. So we had a small group, but it was good. About a 2-hour meeting. Corey did an outstanding job doing the presentation. There was a lot of questions and answers and feedback, so a lot of good questions. So I thank everyone who came out and participated in that. Also, just a shout out, thanks to the clerk and all the volunteers who worked the election. They do an outstanding job. Appreciate everything that they do. Long day, long hours, and I know building up to the election, so it was a long day and long time. So again, thank the clerk, staff, and all the volunteers who participated in that. And the last thing is, Sunday I was at an event at Michigan Theater. It was a Benny Poole celebration, so that was great. It's no secret that we've been trying to talk about a Benny Poole Day. Hope we can start that conversation back up very soon and get a committee going and looking at things. I know the DDA executive left, but it was a great day, great celebration. But yeah, I just want to move forward. We just want to work hard and have that celebration at Benny Poole Day downtown. I'm just looking at that crowd that was there Sunday. I just know we can get a lot of support, get a lot behind this. So hopefully we're going to start talking more, get a committee together and start working hard on that. Love to see that happen in 2024, sometime in the summer. So just thank everyone who came out. Again, thank everyone who voted and everyone who won. So thank you, and thank you one more time, City Manager. You the man. You got her to vote yes. I can't believe it. Thank you, though.
Maybe it was what you said, Freddie. I'm not telling you.
Councilmember Gunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Congratulations on your second term. And congratulations to Councilmember Fourgraves and Councilmember Dancy for their reelection. Congratulations to Connor. Look forward to working with you. So I just want to start my remarks there, and then I had something I was going to say, and it's somewhere out there in space. So hold on just a second. Let me think.
It's going to come back.
It's going to come back.
I know mine is.
Maybe, maybe not. I've been under the weather, so I'm still in a fog. Okay. Thank you. I think that's it.
Okay. Councilmember Schlechte.
Okay. Well, congratulations, everybody, on the election. I want to thank Senator Sue Schenk's office for being here. Nancy, you've picked up the phone when I've called, and I appreciate that. I will be honest with you, I didn't vote for her because I was concerned she wouldn't represent Jackson, coming from Washtenaw County, and she is here and she is present. She's doing a great job. So that's, you know, I'm just being right up front. And I really like the fact that her staff, especially Nancy, is very accessible. She has had meetings, several. It just blows me away that, and I'm very impressed. And I'm not easily impressed. I'd like our city attorney to clarify the email FOIA that Anson brought up. I believe even if I don't think you were referring to me, I don't know who you were referring to, but I do use my personal email. I don't have one because I have very little time to look all over places. And I do believe if I use my personal email for something on city, it's just as FOIAble as if it were the city's email. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. Do you want to correct me?
If it relates to city business, it's FOIAble, regardless as to whether you use a personal email account or a city-issued email account. But there's a variety of exemptions that have to be looked at. So, but in the normal course, just to address Mr. Law's question very briefly, if we have a normal protocol, so anytime a citizen requests public documentation or public documents, the FOIA is the normal protocol for any request. It's something simple that can be answered, a question, but we don't answer questions through FOIA. So if it's a document request, to keep it uniform, we do use FOIA for those requests.
I would like the city attorney to look into the real estate license law. I realized this week that we may be city may be in violation of the real estate license law because we've sold more than 6, I think the number is 6, could be 5 pieces of real estate in a year. And you may have to have a real estate license in order to do that. So if you could look into that to make sure we're not violating the law. I do also feel that the JPS City 100 Homes, parents who want to own a home is a fair housing violation. And I'm a little disappointed that we weren't insisting that that language be changed. It should have been for community members. And whether it was the city that produced that or JPS, I've talked to both sides of that fence, and both are kind of pointing fingers to each other. So in the future, describe the property and not the people who would be buying the property if you want to avoid a fair housing violation. And parents is a familiar status, and that is protected status. I am very intrigued by the precinct. I'm disappointed we didn't talk about that. Since we're doing the precincts changes, I assume, no one explained why it got pulled off the agenda. I would at the same time like to see the voting locations consolidated, which would also save us money. And I have a little map making my recommendations that I'll give to Andrea. And I'd like to know, when you do talk about the precincts, who was on the committee, because I didn't think we had a full committee, so I'd just like to know who was present and on the elections committee at this moment in time. And last but not least, I will end on the fact that one of the toughest critics of the city, and I'll tell you who it is, Gay Wynn, gave a compliment to both Shane Laporte, the inspection program, and Jonathan Green. So it's like Carl Breeding gave me a compliment once, and I cherish the fact that I got a compliment from him. Gay Wynn's the same way. So I wanted to let staff know that the changes in how the third floor is being run and the NOPAR is being administered is being noticed by the toughest of the critics. So, thank you.
Councilman Forgray.
I would like to congratulate Mayor Mahoney, Councilman Dancy, Councilman-elect Wood on their election wins. It was really heartening to see, generally speaking, campaigns that were positive, that spoke about how the sky is not falling, you can go outside after dark, we are operating in good faith, that those campaigns got anywhere from 53 to 70% of the vote this last election. And I'm looking forward to serving that term out with you guys moving forward, and hopefully we can get a lot of good work done. So congratulations, and let's get to work.
Right. I'm going to try to make my comments as short as possible. Apparently we got some gumbo to get to.
I do.
So I just want to start by by publicly thanking God. Like I just can't imagine where my life would be without like submitting my will to what He wants to see in my life, what God wants to see me do. And for the last 2 years, one of the biggest things that I've struggled with is how I get skipped for being able to give convocation. So I made a request tonight to end that. And said, hey, put me in the rotation, please. I think I should have opportunity to give invocation just like the rest of our council people. If whoever comes after me decides that's not their thing and that's not what they want to do, that's their business. But I just want to start right there because I would not be where I am in life right now without God. I want to say thank you to the citizens who voted in this election, whether they voted for me or not. I appreciate the fact that you showed up to cast your vote. I want to send a special thank you to those who did vote for me because I appreciate that vote, that confidence to continue to serve and push forward the work that we've been doing. Not every decision that we've made has been the exact perfect decision, but I do think it has been the exact perfect decision that we needed in that moment in time. And I'm grateful to continue to serve with the individuals who were recently elected and who are currently elected, and even those who will not be here after next meeting, but I'll save all those positive words for that meeting. And I'm just looking forward to doing exactly what Will said, which is continuing to work. This election was difficult because it's difficult when you start getting into the weeds. One of the main things that people keep telling me is stay out of the comments on social media. That is a difficult thing for me to do, and it made it even more difficult this election with, even my, I have a 14-year-old who sees, she's not on social media, but she knows and she hears every conversation that we have, and to, for her to have to hear some of the things that were being said about her father was pretty disheartening, and I think that that's a poor way to run a campaign or to surround a candidate in general, because I don't believe that some of that stuff that was being spewed came directly from John Wilson. I do want to thank him publicly also for the phone call that Wednesday morning. My first stop was to see Greg O'Connor, and my second stop was to breakfast with my father, who flew up here from Georgia for the election, and my children. And on the way to breakfast, that was the first phone call I got of the day. And I told myself I wasn't even going to answer the phone on Wednesday after the election, but something told me to answer that phone call. And it was John congratulating me. And, and I extended the olive branch for him and I to sit down to talk about some of the initiatives that he was looking forward to accomplishing, and seeing how we might be able to compromise and how I might be able to help accomplish some of those desires that he has. So I appreciated that phone call. I want to say a thank you to the way that the clerk in her office and all the election volunteers worked diligently to make sure that this was a fair and transparent election. Even though they made us wait until almost 11 o'clock for results, and that was probably the most nervous that I've been in any of the last 5 elections that I've been involved with, except for the first one. But I appreciate the due diligence that you guys take and all of the volunteers in the way that you just you run elections. This year I made some extra communications that I wouldn't even normally make, and every email was acknowledged, and you know, if it was an issue that I presented, even if it wasn't pertaining to her office, she made sure that she at least acknowledged the email and said, this is probably who you need to call about that issue. So I just appreciate that in a major way, and think that you did a phenomenal job running this election, and know that all elections that happen in the city of Jackson will be in good hands with you at the helm, and I appreciate that. I do want to say to my friend in Christ, Jennifer Bittinger, I do not proclaim to be an expert in the Bible. One thing I don't think I've ever read in the Bible is where it says anything about Republicans or Democrats. And I think that's important to remember when you make comments and you try to relate God into the comment about elections and parties and all of those things. That I don't recall a mention of Democrats or Republicans in the Bible. On to some more important news. Thursday, there's an event at Parkside, 5:30 to 7 p.m. For JPS parents and community. It says.
Doesn't matter.
It says and.
Doesn't matter.
Hey, I didn't interrupt your comments. I'm just trying to spread the word about it happening. I am just trying to spread the word on what's happening, and I did not interrupt your comments. But thank you. And my messages to JPS parents and students and parents and community and anyone out there who wants to learn more about the 100 Home Project, they should come to Parkside on the 16th. From 5:30 to 7 p.m., which I think is a great time because it accommodates for individuals who may have to work during the day. So I appreciate that. I know that the police department also has a turkey drive coming up on Monday the 20th from 10 a.m. to noon. And want to say thank you for your vote. I appreciated that. Not personally, but as a person who, and I've said this time and time again, as a person who has been previously homeless, as a person who spent 18 years with my mother working at the Interfaith Shelter and running the Interfaith Shelter for 18 years and knowing and understanding the nuances of homelessness, while it may not have been a project that you agreed with, the vote was the right thing to do, regardless of how much twisting of your arm it took to get you there.
At least I was honest.
That's respectful, and it was the right thing to do. And I'm looking forward to seeing the work that Residents in Action is going to do, and how transformational this project will be. And hopefully it'll be an example for what we may be able to do moving into the future. I think that's all of my comments. Mr. City Manager.
Nothing for me tonight.
All right, look for a motion and support to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Yeah, let's
Thought about it, couldn't do it for free. I had a couple, but.
No, you didn't have a couple. You did good.